start focusing totally becoming mixed panel and flurry specialists, and that will help them, or is it a mixture of both that needs to be there?
See, I think the Indian consumer is as exposed as any other user, right? Any other customer, whether it's a consumer in the US, because you can access any game, and therefore quality is important. Otherwise, your game is not going to fly. Okay. But at the same time, looking at engagement, metrics, iteration, if you really have to succeed. So I would say the developers need to move quickly, focus on one title, two titles, and just give their best over there.
Works. Shailesh, what is like now the overall, are you bullish, bearish on next 2 years mobile games in India? How do you see the landscape panning out?
Oh, I think it's going to be awesome. Next 2 years, this is a great time to be a young company in gaming. I think the biggest event that could happen for us, hopefully in the shorter term, is carrier billing, opening up to the app stores. But you know, from the data I can garner from some of our portfolio companies, that smartphone activations, which were about 5 million a month earlier this year, were probably 8 million a month in October. So just the pace of increase of the installed base of users is probably amongst the fastest in the world today. And I was asking Anuj to ask the question about, do Indians play games? And he said, no, I don't think we should ask that question anymore, because the answer is a pretty obvious yes. So you know, that's usually what we've been talking about on gaming panels for the past few years. I don't think that's a concern anymore. So I think it's a great time to jump in. There will be many companies and many folks who probably will monetize very well in the next couple of years.
Cool. Gaurav, like your opinion, where do you see mobile games, the landscape, bullish, bearish?
Of course, extremely bullish because of exactly the reasons that Shailesh mentioned. Hopefully IAP through the carriers will pick up. I'm guessing you'll also see a bunch of opportunities like true publishers, right? Like you spoke about, who can actually localize sort of international content, local characters, local language. I think that's a fairly big opportunity as well.
Okay. Arvind, if mobile games is going to be so bullish, why are you still making PC games, man?
I think in general, my perspective is going to be that in the next couple of years, the role of like investors or publishers who can offer something more than just investment is going to increase. Because if you're an unknown developer, you need distribution channels as much as you need.
Like Nitish is offering.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, like what I think in terms of like what investors, I think like investors who have not just like invested, they like people who just give you the investment and then just leave and then leave you to yourself. Like that might not work as well as investors who have who can get used, for example, like an Apple feature or something.
Okay. Well, okay. Yeah, got your point. So the last, before we open for questions, just to ask Nitish that why, since you are the only one who's ready to take that question, why did you invest in HashCube? I mean, if it's not, it's okay with you guys. Just get the good KPIs.
So the HashCube, like I said, you're looking for the passion and the vision. And I thought they had a very interesting approach to a lot of casual games. A different twist to a lot of popular games that they can, build on. And they have one game, Sudoku Quest, which has done pretty well and has been able to monetize. So they've obviously already cracked to a certain extent the art of monetization.
Definitely.
Which I think is a big one.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so I think that's the key reason that I did it.
Cool. So that's all from the questions from my end. So if you guys want to add something, all of you, it's okay. Otherwise, we'll open it up for questions to the audience. Yeah. We can start with the audience.
My question is to you, like you talk about game companies coming up. What about startups? Like if just I have an idea and I don't know anything. Basically, I'm an Android developer, but I don't know Java or server-side things and distribution and all the things. if just I have an idea, how do I approach you and how do I approach any funding?
Get incubated at Game Tantra probably. And
yeah.
With Nitesh.
Yeah, so to answer that, with a Game Tantra Bangalore-based company, we've just launched a joint incubator cum funding program for startups at just like the way you explained. So at Game Tantra you get the complete infrastructure as well, in terms of office, equipment, whatever you want, fast internet. Plus you get initial funding, which is about 12.5 lakhs to get started at least. So maybe go for something like that. Plus you'll get a lot of mentorship.
Yeah.
So we're here, sorry.
Yeah.
We're in a phase where we're seeing a lot of companies actually take a route of developing Indian content, like Teenpati is in Indian audience base, and there are guys like Tiny Mogul is doing only for an Indian audience. Will it look like there will be more funding opportunities for developers who have that sort of targets? Because we know that the Indian audience isn't paying, and I'm not sure about how they're working out things, but if we are targeting only the Indian audience, do you think that there are opportunities around?
See, my take there is that if you switch on your TV, you see predominantly 70% is Indian content, right? 70-80%. So the point is that my own opinion is that 2 years, 3 years down the line, in terms of consumption of mobile games, it may be something like a 50-50. You'll see some super hits like Teenpati or cricket, etc., which will have their own, place in the sun, and you will have international content. So it's for each company. I think there is a huge scope in building India-specific content. Difficult to monetize now, but then there are other challenges why that monetization is not happening. Like Sailesh said, lack of carrier billing on the app stores, etc. Lack of the right price points. So today, for example, the minimum you spend is $1, right? So even for some power-ups of Candy Crush, or you have to spend 60 rupees, which is too much. You spend 5-10 rupees, people are willing to pay. With the right content, I think the Indian market itself will be very big.
But do you think it's the right time to start working towards something like that, or do you think that we should wait?
No, absolutely. It's absolutely the right time.
Yeah.
You have to start now, because in another 2 years, this market will become very, very large. 2-3 years. You see what's happening in China, for example, in the last 3 years, 4 years, the mobile gaming market has just exploded. And I think before you know it, my own gut feel is next 2-3 years, you'll see a complete game changer.
Cool. Thank you.
Hi. So I have a small studio, just 1 or 2 guys, and half the time I'm thinking I should get funding. The other half, no, I shouldn't get funding, because my independence is very important to me, obviously, as a developer. And for me, I'm pretty hesitant to approach someone, because if I do approach them and say, okay, I'm worried about what if I'll have creative control over what I'm going to do. So, I mean, I understand that you're not just going to say, okay, here's the money, do whatever you want with it. So you would want the guy to know what he's doing. But do you have a process? Or how do you tackle it if you're giving someone money to build something and that person's vision differs from what you think is that person should do, right? How do you handle that? How do you resolve that?
Nitesh, I'll take that one. So I've raised money, right, from angels and micro VCs. So the vision of the VCs is, or any investor in the company, is to make money, right? That is the one aspect that you should be clear when you're going to raise investment. You need to make money. The creative aspect of this, we're lucky that nobody's interfered in the creative aspect, or whatever we wanted to do, people have let us do that. In the end, you're responsible when you're taking someone's money to make more money out of it, right? And if you're not delivering on that, then it's your prerogative to answer to the VC. So if there is too much of your confusion that the creatives would not match and this one, frankly, believe me, they will leave the creatives to you. You are the best judge of the creatives. Well, they can advise you on what genre is working and what not using their network. But I believe for them, it's very important that you have the creative freedom. That's what my opinion or my experience has been. I'm sure these guys would contribute more.
I think, yeah, you guys are much more likely to be able to come up with the insight that generates a successful game versus the investor. But you should spend a lot of time before you take an investment, if you ever decide to go down that path, making sure that you feel comfortable with the party that you could be working with. Making sure that you're aligned on your values and what you want to achieve. Our only goal as venture investors is to make you guys successful, and that's the only chance that we have to make money out of the arrangement. So it's about really helping you guys achieve your dream, not us trying to project something on you guys.
For example, if I had a game that I mean, it's all risk-based, right? Money comes from taking risks, but taking the right risks. So if I had a game idea that you might not think work, but I had a user base that I have sheets of paper with many people who had actually played a game and liked it. Would you, for example, say, okay, this guy's actually tested it. He's got some data from actual users. If it conflicts with what I might think might work, if I came to you with like 200 sheets of paper with, with user feedback, would you think that would help the case?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Data never lies.
Thank you.
Hi. How much do you think the funding decisions? How much does the funding decisions are getting affected by how gaming companies do in the public markets like King and Zynga?
Yes.
I think they do get impacted because the premise that I think some people had maybe a few years ago was that social gaming, probably more when Facebook gaming launched, was that it was going to be fundamentally different than PC gaming or movies. Other content businesses, that the data and the cross promotion gave you a long-term advantage. I think having just seen the absolute size of those companies is still high single-digit billions in some cases. So it's a lot of money. As someone else earlier said, those companies took very little money to build. So they're still wonderful investments, but the aftermarket performance of those companies has shown that it is still very much a content-based business and hits-driven, and it might have you might have some advantage. Somebody like the Flappy Bird guy, one guy sitting somewhere randomly in the world can create something that strikes a chord and it just changes the nature of what genre is cool. So it's I would say the public market performance is mostly driven by those companies' performance. So that is more of an insight that just affects overall investment in gaming.
Yeah. Can somebody pass the mic? Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, hi. As somebody who keeps following Hacker News and reading Y Combinator pitches, I kind of understand the whole funding ecosystem over there is much more developed than what it is here. And basic thing that I want to understand is what is the kind of right stuff, or what is the bare minimum that somebody who's been in the industry for a while, wants to start up on his own maybe, should come to you with? What is it that you look for?
In terms of experience of the entrepreneur?
In terms of when I try to approach a venture capitalist or an angel, what is the right stuff that you guys look for?
I think it would be at that startup stage, it would be the team's experience and also your ideas, right? What do you plan to do, and how do you plan to see? It's a fairly crowded market, and just by launching a game on the App Store is not just going to ensure its success. So what are your ideas? What are your approaches? You know, do you have anything innovative, or you're just trying to, you know, launch just yet another Teen Patti? So for example, that space has already been taken up, right? So you have to have some different approach. So I think if you have the concept, if you have something interesting and you have the experience backing it up, that's a good enough start. Yeah, sure. I think I'll let Sailesh answer that one. I've just become an investor, right?
I think gaming companies typically have low PEs because of the content-driven nature of the business. So I don't know if there's a perfect answer, but you can see what King or Zynga at times when it was profitable, what they traded at. But I would think it's high single-digit or low double-digit multiple of earnings.
Yeah, I'll ask Gaurav also to answer that. How does Matrix look at these things?
So I mean, honestly, at the early stage, it's probably meaningless to look at PE, right? It's more, it's much more an art than a science. It's a discussion. Depends on what product you've got off the ground, what sort of team you've built, and so on and so forth. I think it's meaningless to look at financial multiples, at least at the stage where we fund companies.
Cool. You need to have some revenue coming in, assuming that.
And some profits too.
Yeah, some profits.
Any of this.
Anyone else? That's it? There's one?
So you said that earnings, profits. So what numbers would be good numbers to approach you with? Like minimum? Or any of you, both of you?
I think maybe I think we've answered this before, but we would invest at even at concept stage if the team was right and they had a unique insight.
No, but let's assume that I do have some numbers. So what numbers would be like good to approach you with? To say that the health is good enough for you to say, yeah, okay, this guy makes sense immediately.
It's not an easy question to answer without. Yeah.
Also, I think it's what's behind those numbers, yeah. For example, I think if you're doing, let's say, $10,000 in a game, right? What someone would see would be how scalable that is, and that would be defined more by how those $10,000 are being generated. What is the engagement metric of those customers? What is the lifetime value? How many customers are generating those $10,000, etc. Because if those $10,000 look to be scalable to $1 million very quickly, just by, let's say, pumping in, decent amount of marketing money, then it would be valued a lot more than if you felt that, that 10,000, you were spending $20,000 to earn those $10,000, and to earn $1 million, you would have to spend $2 million. Then it wouldn't be valued much, right? So it's also the quality of those revenues rather than just the quantity of those revenues.
I might have a top line and I have a bottom line, but I am cash flow negative. So does that make it attractive? Because to monetize money in the current industry is a lot more difficult. So will you look at a company which is cash flow positive, or will you look at a company that's negative?
I think, at least from my opinion, and again I'm repeating that I'm answering all of this as a novice investor right now. So I make some of my colleagues here may agree or not. But in my opinion, the cash flow perspective is not that important, whether it's cash flow positive or negative. I also don't think at an early stage the profitability is important. You can't expect to be profitable at a $10,000 revenue or $20,000 revenue. So I just think it's the quality of the revenue that is going to be most important, that how sustainable and how scalable it is, rather than looking at these other parameters.
All right, so I have a question. We actually came up with an idea a few months ago based around a card game concept. And we're completely not from this industry. like, for example, I'm from the automotive industry and so on and so forth.
Sorry, which one?
From the automotive industry.
Okay.
Right, so when we used to play this particular game every weekend, and we had an idea that let's try and convert this into an app. Now, the ways are something we had no clarity about. But I did read up about you and about your fund, which is for this year particularly, that you have 5 crores in place where you're going to help kickstart a few startups. With that in mind, I did give your office a call, now once, a few times actually, with a lot of promises for callbacks. Now, when you were discussing that particular point, you said you can kickstart a company within a week if required. Now, the vision that we have is not just to get a game out in the market and see how it plays. It's not a hit and trial method. That's exactly why we thought, okay, let's give you guys a call and see how the response is. Primarily and purely based on just an idea. But then again, we got to thinking and we got to sit down and discuss that, you know, let's get the app to a particular stage and then approach investors.
Right.
But what is happening over there is that the vision we have when it comes to building quality apps, that is getting hampered, right? Sure. What if I come to you with an app which is half done? That's how you're going to see it. That's how you're going to perceive it. So are we too late to approach an investor in case of this, or should I have tried a little harder? Probably come and sat in front of your office for a few more days.
I think you should have just emailed me.
I did that as well.
then I need to improve my response rate. But we're just putting together, since it's early days for us, we're also just putting together better, efficient processes ourselves. So apologies for that. But I think for a team like you, which does not have a background in gaming, what would be very helpful is to have at least a prototype. So like you said, right, it doesn't have to be completely there, but at least if the prototype framework is ready and it's looking interesting, I think that will be very helpful.
Absolutely. So what we've done is we've gone ahead and we have roped in a small little development team which sits out of a particular city. So they're working it out for us, and we've hit that particular concept stage where we're already testing the app.
Sure. Yeah. Can I take that offline?
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Cool.
Sure. Okay, sir.